Would you like financial freedom? Would you actually like to say, I am debt free? And have a champion, be a champion over your income, over your finances, and to live not paycheck to paycheck, and to not have to be worried what it's going to look like when you retire or are 75 years old, and if there is still money available for you. Today's show is financial freedom, and with me is the expert Regeania Johnson, and she is going to teach and equip us how to be a champion over our finances. I used to struggle and have a really hard time, even owed 2 years back of taxes, and it was hard. So I just started using the credit card to make up for it, right? And that seemed to complicate more than simplify. So what is it that you can do today, where you're at, in your shoes, to step into financial freedom? Regeania, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so very much for having me, Barb. It's just really an honor to be here.
It is, I think when I met you, you taught me things about finances I never even thought of, because that wasn't today yet. So we're having here situations. How do people step into financial freedom when they have 4 credit cards debt, over $20,000? They're struggling to make their house payment. And even today with coronavirus, how do you step forward in life?
You know, Barb, sometimes that can be a real debilitating type of situation. And even during these times, people feel so lost and so alone. But what we found is it doesn't have to be that way. First, it comes with recognizing where you are, but it starts with a conversation. And having someone that's in your corner that can step you through the process. See, one of the things that I've found and what works for us is, we meet people where they are. So, and by meeting them where they are, we can gauge and give them a step, a plan to achieve the successes that they want for their lives, because everyone is different.
So when they come to you with all these problems, you're not saying, you're saying, let me come alongside you. So what are some of the basic steps where they should be starting with that?
So what we do, one of the first things is we want to hear what some of their goals are. So we have that conversation. And why is that important when everything is chaotic? Because people need to be grounded. See, sometimes when we're in a situation, those dreams and goals that we have leave us. But see, when we can be on a path toward success, we can help them get there. Then after we talk about what some of those goals are, right? Because we want it in the forefront of their minds, let's talk about the other things that they need to do to get there. What about the cash flow? What's coming in? What's going out? In fact, we have like a 6-step process that we work with our clients. Cash flow, debt management, right? And we want to make sure that they have, and we help them achieve at least 3 to 6 months of their expenses. But see, for some people, it can be a fleeting thought. They don't have someone to kind of hold their hand through the process, right? Typically in the financial industry, if you don't have about $500,000 or more, no one's going to talk to you. In fact, that's one of the reasons that I'm here. Right? No family left behind. And that's been our motto, and that's our mission. Whose family? Your family. Whose family? Your family. No family left behind. And I think just that one key, having someone that can walk them through that process, oh my gosh. So it gives me joy. And then we talk about some of the other things that they might need to have, making sure they have the proper protection in place. I'm going to tell you, with this COVID situation, now more than ever, individuals are, it's like their mortality is right in front of them, and they're concerned. People are losing income, their jobs, and they want to know how that they can have those things replaced. Well, aside from just working with their finances and getting them on track, we also set individuals up for entrepreneurship and step them through that process as well. They're concerned about if something did happen to me, what about my family, right? Because if you have the primary breadwinner of the family, that's the CEO of that family. what happens? Those are some of the concerns they have. And so by having that conversation and making sure that we are there to step them through the process gives a little peace of mind. One, that they're not by themselves. Two, that they have some hope. You see, because when hope is gone, oh my gosh,
Everything falls apart.
It really does.
It's amazing. When I asked God, I said, what do I impart on our viewer with this show? And you just said the word, because he said, peace. It's peace where it starts. Is that correct?
It does. Peace that surpasses all understanding. Because see, things happen. Things happen for a reason. But we don't want people to be operating in the spirit of fear.
That's
right?
true. That is very true.
So, and see, the word says we have what we say we have, right? So what we do is we speak life into each of the individuals. See, because God can move some things. He can move things and make things happen. See, when one door closes, another one opens.
You know, that happened to me. I wanted to be in full-time ministry and no longer work. And literally a check dropped in the mail that made that change to me personally and my husband. I would have never imagined it the way it went. But now God blessed me. And it does happen. And you might say, that's never going to happen to me. Wrong. Anything can happen, but we're not just going to count on one item. Everything can happen to you right now. The next part of this show, it is very, very cool, because what happens if you have your act together, but those around you mess it up? And how do you get back to your sanity? Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Barb TV is all about you getting the needs met that you have. Satan wants to steal, kill, and destroy your life, but Jesus wants to give you the abundant life. How do we do that? We have guests with stories, and God wants to do the stories again in your life. He wants to change your life, He wants to improve your life, and He wants you to have all the benefits. Financial freedom is what we all want. And would you be willing to get the scissors and cut up that credit card and trust God more than where you're at right now? With me is Regina. Regina, you have gone through a lot. And you actually you had all your ducks in a row, as we call it in Holland, all your ducks in a row, but then something went wrong, which was frustrating to you. Share with us what happened.
Well, a couple of things happened. So the first thing that happened, I'll start in 2008. So 2008, well, it was a grand year. But of course, the market turned.
Yes, big one, especially in the real estate world.
Oh, yes, in the real estate world. But also, I lost about $272,000 in the market, right? But I didn't know some of the things and concepts that I'm aware of currently, right? But imagine if I was 67 years old, getting ready to retire, the impact that would have made. But now that we know some of the tools that are available to us, this is some of the information I'll share with other individuals. The other thing that really had an impact on me was, my dad. So, it was really hard. This was so difficult for me. So prior to being this is what moved me to be in the financial industry. I'm the oldest of four children, right? I'm the oldest. I'm typically the go-to person for my family. I'm in California, they're in another state. And when my dad fell ill, I took off from my job then, and stayed with him for about 45 days. Okay, in the hospital, he was had cancer. We didn't know how bad it really was, and but I would ask. I was in the hospital room talking with my dad. I'm gonna tell you what made the largest impact for me. Having these conversations, right? This is why it's important for us to know. My dad said he wanted me to know he had everything taken care of. I didn't know to ask Dad, what does that mean? So, mind you, my stepmom didn't work. My dad was the sole provider for the family. Big change. So what happened, he ended up passing. And I'm going to tell you, being the oldest, I felt
responsible?
I did. I felt, because my mom at that time, she ended up, losing her home and just didn't have those things in place. When he said he had things in place, it meant that he had $25,000 of life insurance coverage. He told me he had coverage for the grandkids. But see, I didn't ask that question. See, my parents during that time, having coverage meant, hey, I'm going to make sure that my burial is paid for. But what did that do for my mom? What could she do with $25,000?
Not much. And that is so typical for us to think
it
like
is.
that. As long as I am buried and it's paid for, everything is fine. So what happened?
So fast forward, actually, it wasn't until I met you that that became prevalent, because I was holding on to those feelings. And it wasn't until I had that conversation with you that it came to the forefront and I could really own them, because I was not owning them.
Yeah.
And I remember doing another women's event, and I shared my experience that I had with you, just that conversation. And what it allowed to happen was me to release it. And by me being able to release that, I was able to help change the lives of other people, right? To be able to tell that story, right? To say that, it doesn't have to be like that for you.
So what you're sharing here is that your dad and mom did not have their financial in order at all, and that you became responsible for it? What are we talking about here?
I know it kind of sounds crazy, because I should have asked him. I'm the oldest of 4. I should have been the one to ask him those questions, Dad. And I'm going to employ you guys. If you have parents, ask this question. You want to know what they have, and have the conversation and help them through the process, right? See, here's what happens. The average American thinks just that way. The more wealthy and affluent, they are transferring wealth, right? That is what we would like to teach. Why? Because it's generational, right? Not just to transfer it, but then to teach financial literacy, to make sure that they are passing it along. See, these things should change generation
so you're
to the
talking
next
about
generation.
Financial literacy.
Yes.
And I am like, the viewer's going to say, I can read. What is she talking about? So explain that to me, please.
Okay, being financial literate is just understanding. I don't expect a person to be able to read all the charts, right? But it's about having the conversation. One, knowing where you are currently in your financial situation, right? What's coming in, what's going out. Having a budget is really key.
Should they stick to the budget?
Oh, most definitely.
Right.
And that's hard for some, right? So it is. But it's also a matter of, having someone walk you through that. What are some of the discretionaries? In fact, let's share this. And to keep it really simple, how much is a Starbucks cup of coffee? My secretary used to go to Starbucks at least twice a day, in the morning and the evening. Right?
That will add
Those
up.
adds up, right? So she was spending over $200 on Starbucks, mind you. What could she have done with that? But it's sitting down to have that conversation to help someone realize where they are, right? So just to keep it that simple. And then to share some of the tools that are there to help them through the process. So we talk about this. The average person has where 50% of their paycheck is coming into the household. So you got maybe 50% that's going to I'm sorry, you have
50% like to the mortgage, financial expenses,
50% that
all
goes
that
to
stuff.
their living expenses. Then you have taxes, 20%, 25%, and then maybe another 25% going towards the debt. How much is left over?
Not much.
Not much at all.
Because it goes fast.
It really does. What we teach is, what about eliminating some of that debt? What about decreasing the taxes
Is that
that
kind
you
of the
pay?
snowball effect that you're talking about?
It
to
can
eliminate one and add it to the other one. I tried that snowball effect and it worked. It really worked. But more than that, I asked God, I said, God, I want to be out of the car payment this year. And I was. If you start praying and obeying, it all will fall in place. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Peace is beautiful. However, finding peace is not always easy. But the result when you get there is life-changing. Are you ready to dream bigger, pray bigger, believe bigger, and live bigger? If you want to break free from dull Christianity and transform to a vibrant, active believer, what are you waiting for? Dare to Believe Big teaches you to believe like never before. It is time to grow, evolve, and expand. Discover 4 words that can transform your life. Are you ready to build a relationship with God? God has incredible plans for you. It is an exciting opportunity, and you can live each day with a high expectation of what God will do next. Don't wait any longer and sign up for your new free membership. Sign up now and get a free gift at daretobelievebig.com. I love what the Bible's saying right here in Galatians 5, verse 1. And this is what it says. Let me be clear. The Anointed One has set us free. Not partially, but completely and wonderfully free. We must always cherish the truth and stubbornly refuse to go back into the bondage of our past. One of my favorite scriptures is John 10:10. Satan came to steal, to kill, and to destroy. But Jesus says, I came to give you life in abundance.
Yes.
That includes, my friend, financial freedom. And not just partially, but completely. So how do you handle it when the bills are higher than your income and you go live from paycheck to paycheck? And what is it that you can do when somebody else gets in trouble and you want to bail them out? Those are the questions I have for you right now. When you get in that situation, I remember my daughter coming to me once and saying, Mom, can you help me out financially? We ended up putting our car, a second lien on it, and then we paid her attorney for this situation. It seemed to go nowhere. And then afterwards she asked for more, and we ended up saying no and trusting God instead. What is the right answer in those situations?
That is a good question. So let me break it down to you this way. Instead of giving someone a hand out, give them a hand up. So empower someone with the information that they need to make a positive change for their life. Because when you earn something, how do you feel about that?
Wordy, like I can do with it what I want.
As opposed to something being just given to you. When we just give things to our children without them earning it.
Now, I remember teaching a Christian aerobics class, and I would hand out some scholarships. And these were the least attended people. There was a difference. Some of them were the exception. There are exceptions to that. But the value seemed to be gone. Is that what you're talking about right now? Because
most of the time we want to change a behavior. In order to change a behavior, one has to take ownership first, right? In order to change the behavior. Instead of us being an enabler, because what an enabler does, and I'm telling you, Miss Barb, I did the same thing. Right? But now, what I've learned...
Is that with your dad? What happened? You became the enabler?
By taking care of the family,
And they were grown-ups, right?
They were grown-ups.
So how did... I want more. Give me more.
Okay. I think that when we talk about the situation with my dad, me not having that conversation with him to really ascertain what position he really was in. See, we can't take certain things for granted. And I was taking responsibility for the decisions that they made, right? It took me a long time to come to grips with that. But when I did, it's a mindset. And so what it did was help me with my own family to be able to take more responsibility with my own family. I let go of that guilt because I felt guilty. I felt responsible that my stepmother didn't have, that she lost her house, that I just felt really that it was my fault for a long time.
And you're an adult.
Yes.
Wow. And I know by now you have forgiven her for that and let go of that, but you put that on yourself.
I really did.
Are you free from that today?
I am free from that again. And I can talk about it freely. And what it's allowed me to do is just to talk to even to more women, right? To more women, because I found that there are other women that was in the same spot that I was, being maybe a caregiver, financial support for their family. In fact, right now we have so many women and families that's, in this sandwich type of situation where they're raising a family and taking care of their parents. And how do you manage through those situations? So what we teach is foundational concepts that everybody needs to know in order to be able to move forward. So whether it's this generation or the next generation, by employing some of the 6 steps or 6 concepts that we have, making sure that you understand some of the things that impact us financially, taxes, right? Rate and risk, and knowing how the rule of 72, the interest rate that you pay either on your credit cards or what you're receiving.
Rule of 72?
Oh, yes. The rule of 72 says if you take the interest rate, divide that interest rate by 72, it's going to tell you how many years it typically takes for your money to double. So think about that. Yeah. We're currently earning maybe 1% at the time of this taping, if that, on our savings account. Right? So, and I want you to think about that for a moment. But what's the highest interest rate that you've heard of on a credit card?
29%. And I've looked at it. I had a wonderful friend of mine, and she had all these credit cards, and she was paying one credit card with the other credit card. And finally, I looked at her and said, "Do you see what you're doing here? You got to start paying them off." But it was a different concept for her.
Oh, yes. But when you see that on paper, something about written goals, or seeing that budget on paper, those numbers. See, compound interest is either going to work for you or against you. Right? At 1%, that money is doubling every 72 years. Do we have time for that?
No.
We don't. But let's fast forward. If 29%, let's just say 10%. If you were getting 10% on an account or paying that, your money would double every seven years. But 29%, that money could be doubling every 3 years or so. The problem is it's not going into your pocket, it's going where? To the bank, because they own credit cards.
Smart business on their side. Yeah. I've been told they're basically like sharks.
You could say that, but it serves a purpose. But we can't get caught up in their purpose, right?
Like how you're saying that. So what is a great tip you can give to the viewer right now to help them to step into what you are talking about?
The first thing I would say is make a conscious decision that you really want to change. Make the conscious decision that you want things to be better for you, right? And then make a contact to an individual that can help you. I would love to help you in any shape and way or form. So we could do that. It starts with just having a conversation. And so for most people, it's just having that conversation, to have someone meet them where they are, to hand walk them through that process, because it doesn't have to be a debilitating situation. And there is light at the end of the tunnel.
There is. I've lived it.
Yes.
I've lived it. If anyone would like to get your information and to find out more about you, what is your website?
financialrevolution.com/RegRose.
That's great.
Okay.
That's great. And it will make all the difference in the world. When I spoke to you, when I met you, you literally touched me because you were talking to me not just about insurance or life insurance or different things, but made me aware of what about care when you get older? What are you going to deal with that? And all these different things. And I want to thank you for making a revolution in my life. Wow, this is so huge. This show impacts every single person. And I want you to know right there, you can be a champion over your finances, even if you need some help. And it says in the Bible, like we just read in Galatians 5, that even over your finances, God longs for you to step fully into that present life of you. So right now, peace to you. Know that God is bigger and on your side. God loves you, and so do I. And He wants you to also to live life fully. Financial literacy, what does it mean? How do you apply it to your life? And once you get there, how can you help others?
The first thing we need to do is understand where you are and what do you need to do to be able to get there. So that's a conversation that I would love to have. Yes, I want people to understand, think about how much money would it take in a month for you to live the type of lifestyle that you really want. Okay, that's a thought.
Well, the one I really dream
you
about
really-
or the
well,
one I live in, right?